Right now, you are not moving toward tomorrow the way you think. You are not standing at the edge of something unwritten, waiting for it to appear. You only feel that way. It feels like the future is ahead of you, like a blank page, like something that does not yet exist. But that feeling is an illusion, not a small mistake, but a deep misunderstanding of how reality works. The future is not something that is coming into being. It is something that already exists in full, just not yet experienced by you. You are not creating it in real time. You are moving through it, like a reader moving through pages of a book that has already been written from beginning to end. For as long as humans have existed, we have felt time passing. We have felt the past slipping away and the future approaching like a current carrying us forward. It feels obvious. It feels undeniable. Philosophers struggled with it. Thinkers questioned it. But it always seemed clear that only the present is real, and everything else is either gone or not. Yet here then came a deeper understanding of the universe, one that changed everything. The idea that time is not flowing the way we experience it, but instead is laid out all at once, like a vast structure where every moment already exists. Imagine your life not as something being built second by second, but as something already complete, like a long road stretching out in every direction. The part you call the past is simply behind you. The part you call the future is simply ahead of you, but both are equally real, equally present in the structure of existence. You are not creating the road, you are traveling along it, and your feeling of making choices, your sense of deciding what happens next, that too is part of the road already. They're already embedded in the path. It feels impossible at first because from the inside your decisions feel alive, they feel open, they feel like they could go either way, but that feeling is part of the experience, not proof of freedom in the way you imagine it. Every thought, every hesitation, every moment of doubt, every action, all of it exists as part of the same structure. You are not outside the system. Writing it as you go, you are inside it, experiencing it from one moment to the next. And what makes it even stranger is that there is no single shared present moment across the universe. What you call now is not universal. It depends on where you are and how you are moving somewhere far away. Another observer could be experiencing what you would call your past as their present, or even what you would call your future as their present, meaning that those moments must already exist. They are not waiting to be created. They are already part of reality, just viewed from a different position. You are always in motion. The planet beneath you is moving, the star you orbit is moving, the galaxy itself is moving. And because of that, your sense of now is constantly shifting. There is no clean boundary where the present ends and the future begins. It is all blended into one continuous structure, far more connected than your intuition allows. Some people turn to randomness, hoping it restores freedom, hoping that unpredictability means the future is not fixed. But randomness does not give control. It only removes certainty. If your actions were truly random, they would not feel like yours. They would feel disconnected, like outcomes without intention. Unpredictability is not the same as freedom. It only means you cannot foresee what is already part of the structure. So the real question becomes, if everything already exists, why does it feel like life is unfolding? Why does tomorrow feel open? Why does each moment feel new? The answer lies not in time itself, but in how your mind works. Your brain is constantly predicting, constantly building expectations about what comes next. It simulates possibilities, compares them to what actually happens, and updates its model over and over. The sensation of time passing comes from this process, from your mind reaching forward into its own predictions, and then correcting itself as reality is revealed. You are not watching time flow. You are experiencing your own awareness, moving through a fixed structure one moment at a time, like reading a story where the ending is already written but still feels unknown because you have not reached it yet. The suspense, the curiosity, the sense of possibility, all of that is real, even if the outcome already exists. And this leads to something deeper, something more important than whether the future is fixed or open. You are part of a universe that is mostly silent, mostly empty, mostly unaware. And yet within that vastness, you are one of the rare instances where matter has become aware of itself. You are able to think, to question, to feel the passage of moments, even if that passage is an experience created by your own mind. The future may already be there waiting as part of the structure of everything, but you are the part that gets to experience it, the part that feels each moment, arrive with curiosity, with emotion, with meaning. You are not outside the story. Writing it, you are inside it, living it, and that experience, that awareness, that ability to feel time as if it is unfolding, that is something incredibly rare. So even if tomorrow is already written, even if every moment of your life exists somewhere in the vast structure of reality, you are still the one who gets to feel it happen. You are the one turning the pages. You are the one experiencing the story from within. And that experience, that feeling of moving forward, of discovering what comes next, even if it is already there, that is what makes your existence extraordinary. And once you begin to see it this way, something subtle starts to shift inside you. Not all at once, not like a switch flipping, but slowly, like your mind adjusting to a deeper layer of reality that was always there but never fully noticed before, because the idea that everything already exists does not remove meaning. The way people fear it might, it transforms it, it changes where meaning comes from. Instead of meaning being tied to control or to the illusion that you are shaping something from nothing, meaning begins to emerge from experience itself, from the fact that you are here inside this vast structure, aware of it, feeling it, questioning it. Because think about what you actually experience moment to moment. You do not experience the entire structure of reality at once. You experience a narrow slice, a thin moving window of awareness that reveals one piece at a time. Your memories give you access to what you call the past. Your expectations give you a sense of what you call the future, but your direct experience is always confined to this immediate unfolding presence. And that limitation is not a flaw. It is the very thing that makes experience possible. If you could perceive the entire block all at once, there would be no story, no sequence, no sense of before and after. Everything would collapse into a single overwhelming instant without distinction, without meaning. It is precisely because you move through it piece by piece that anything feels like anything, that joy can build, that anticipation can exist, that curiosity has space to operate. The fact that you do not know what comes next, even if it already exists, is what allows you to feel wonder. It is what allows life to have texture, to have tension, to have depth. Imagine again the analogy of a story, not just any story, but one that is deeply engaging, one that pulls you in, one that makes you care about what happens next, even though every word is already printed, every page already fixed. The experience of reading is not diminished by that fact. You still feel suspense, you still feel surprise, you still feel emotion. Because the experience is not about creating the story, it is about encountering it. Your life is not less meaningful because it may already exist in full. It is meaningful because you are the one encountering it from the inside. You are the perspective through which the universe becomes aware of its own unfolding structure. And this raises a question that cuts deeper than anything before. If the future already exists and your path through it is part of that structure, then what exactly are you? What is this thing that feels like a self, that feels like it is making choices, that feels like it is navigating through time? The answer is not simple, and it is not something that fits neatly into everyday language, but one way to begin is to see yourself not as a separate entity standing outside the universe, but as a process happening within it, a pattern of information, a dynamic arrangement of matter and energy that maintains its structure over time while constantly changing at a deeper level. Every cell in your body is in flux, every neuron firing, every chemical exchange, every signal moving through your brain. All of it is part of a continuous process that gives rise to the feeling of being you. You are not a fixed object. You are an ongoing event, and that event is embedded in the larger structure of space-time. The sense that you are moving forward through time is part of that event. It is how the process experiences itself from the inside, and here is where things become both more unsettling and more beautiful at the same time, because if you are a process within the structure, then your sense of agency, your feeling of making decisions is also part of that process. It is not separate from the structure. It is one of the ways the structure expresses itself. When you decide something, when you weigh options, when you feel uncertainty, and then arrive at a choice, that entire sequence is real. It is part of the fabric of reality. It exists as a series of connected states within the block. The fact that it is already there does not make it any less real from your perspective. It simply means that your experience of deciding is itself one of the things that exists. You are not outside the system controlling it, but you are not irrelevant either. You are the system expressing itself in a particular way in a particular region of space-time. Your thoughts, your feelings, your decisions, they are not illusions in the sense of being fake. They are real phenomena occurring within the structure. And that leads to a different understanding of responsibility and meaning, one that does not depend on the idea of an unwritten future, but instead on the reality of lived experience, because even if every moment is already part of the structure, the quality of those moments still matters. And the experiences you have, the way you feel, the impact you have on others, all of that is part of what exists. Pain is still pain, joy is still joy, kindness is still kindness, suffering is still suffering. These are not erased by the idea of a block universe. They are included within it. They are woven into the structure as real features of reality. So the question shifts from how do I change the future to how do I understand my place within this structure? How do I engage with the moments I experience in a way that aligns with what I value? How do I live within this already existing story in a way that reflects what matters to me? Because even if the path is already there, your experience of walking it is not trivial. It is the only way that path is ever felt. It is the only way those moments ever become meaningful in a conscious sense without awareness. The structure would simply exist silently, without experience, without interpretation, without significance. You are the interpretation, you are the lens through which a portion of reality becomes meaningful. And that is not a small thing, that is not something to dismiss, it is something to recognize as extraordinary. And as you continue to think about this, you may notice another shift, another layer of understanding beginning to form, because the idea that the future already exists can feel at first like it removes possibility, like it closes doors. But in another sense, it reveals a different kind of vastness, a different kind of depth. Because if every possible moment is part of the structure, then the richness of existence is far greater than it appears from any single perspective. There are countless paths, countless experiences, countless variations, all existing within the totality of the block. And your life is one thread through that immense tapestry. You are not experiencing everything. You are experiencing one specific sequence, one specific perspective. And that limitation is what gives your experience its identity, its coherence, its sense of continuity. Without that limitation, there would be in the way you understand yourself, there would be no story, no narrative, no sense of being a person moving through time. And so what seemed at first like a restriction, the fact that you can only experience one moment at a time, becomes the very condition that allows experience to exist at all. You are not missing out on the rest of the structure. You are defined by the path you take through it. And as this realization settles in, it can change how you see not just time, but everything connected to it. Your fears about the future, your regrets about the past, your anxieties about what might happen. All of these are tied to the assumption that time is something you're navigating toward or away from. But if the structure already exists, then those fears and regrets take on a different character. They are still real feelings, still valid experiences, but they are not about shaping something that does not yet exist. They are about how you relate to the moments you are experiencing. Regret becomes not a desire to change the past, but an awareness of a different path that also exists within the structure. Fear becomes not a warning about something that might come into existence, but a response to a part of the structure you have not yet experienced. And understanding this does not eliminate those feelings, but it can soften them. It can change how tightly you hold on to them. It can create a small space between the feeling and the assumption behind it. A space where you can observe rather than be completely carried away. A space where you can recognize that your experience is one perspective within a much larger reality. And in that space, there is a kind of quiet clarity, a sense that even if everything is already there, your role as an experiencer, as a conscious participant, still matters, because meaning is not something that exists independently of experience. It arises through it. It is created in the interaction between awareness and the structure it moves through. You are that interaction. You are that process. And as long as you are here, as long as you are aware, as long as you are experiencing moments one after another, there is something happening that would not exist without you. The feeling of being alive, the sense of presence, the awareness of time. All of it is tied to the fact that you are here within this vast structure, experiencing it from the inside. And that is where the deepest shift occurs, not in understanding the physics, not in accepting the idea of a block universe, but in recognizing what it means to be a conscious being within it, because the universe does not just exist, it is experienced through beings like you, and that experience is not separate from reality. It is part of it. It is one of the ways reality manifests. So even if tomorrow is already there, even if every moment of your life is part of a larger structure, that does not change the fact that you will encounter those moments one by one, that you will feel them, that you will interpret them, that you will live through them. And that lived experience is where your existence unfolds, not as the creator of the structure, but as the one who perceives it, who feels it, who reflects on it, who gives it meaning through awareness. You are not outside the story, you are inside it, and the story is not diminished by being complete. It is enriched by the fact that it can be experienced at all. And you are one of the rare instances where that experience is happening. So as you move forward, or more accurately, as you continue to encounter the next moments in your path, consider this not as a limitation, but as a different way of seeing a way that does not take away your sense of life, but deepens it, a way that does not remove wonder, but anchors it in something more fundamental. Because the future may already exist, but your experience of it does not arrive all at once. It unfolds within your awareness. And that unfolding, that sense of moving through moments, that feeling of discovery, even if the destination is already there, that is where your life actually happens. And no matter how the structure is arranged, no matter how time is defined at the deepest level, that experience remains something extraordinary, something rare, something worth paying attention to, something worth living fully, because even in a universe where everything already exists, the act of experiencing it from the inside is still one of the most remarkable things that can happen.